What's up everyone? The global launch of Neverness to Everness is roughly 2 weeks away, 2 weeks and some change, and today we're going to be discussing whether or not you should reroll. In NTE, the stakes are a little bit different than what you might be used to in other gacha titles, especially when we look at the unique gacha mechanics such as no 50-50. So we're going to break down the pros, cons, and specific strategies that you might want to use to set yourself up for success. And I'll be discussing the top 4 targets I think you should aim for if you're going to be re-rolling. Now before we get into the pros and cons, if you're enjoying Neverness to Everness content, specifically mine, drop a subscription. If we reach 1,000 subs by the release window of the game, I'm going to shave my head live on stream. During these live streams, I'm also going to be doing a lot of giveaways. We'll do a few battle pass giveaways, like a dozen giveaways for the monthly pass, as well as a Nanally giveaway. We'll be doing some viewer pools for that, and we'll give away a copy of Nanally, so that'll be pretty cool. Hopefully we don't go to pity on that. But getting into the pros and cons of re-rolling, it's important to discuss whether or not that investment of time is actually worth it, and if you even want to spend the time to try and min-max. This is a super personal decision. Some people just don't want to waste their time re-rolling. It's not worth it to them, and they'll just play the game with what they're given. But other people like to try and aim for a more optimal account, whether or not they're free to play. They don't want to waste hitting an SSR that they don't want and then using their selector on something that they do want. Instead, they want to aim to hit a character that they do want and then use their SSR selector on another character that they want. Some of the pros that I put out there for re-rolling would be the power gap, like starting with a top tier character, whether that be Nanally as like a top tier DPS or Daffodil as one of the best breakers in the game. Hitting these units can really carry you through the early game, as well as once you reach the late game, you'll have a unit that was super worth investing into, and that'll translate to your account's power being a lot higher than if you were playing with more lower tiered units. Another pro for me would be like the resource management aspect. If you hit your desired units early, then you could save on both pool currency and spending. Like if you're re-rolling for Nanally and you hit her on a reroll when we're only given a handful of limited pools, from there you could save all of your premium currency and then spend all that on freaking Lacrimosa when she drops, because that's what I'm going to do. But aside from saving your premium currency or your pools in general, you're also able to invest in the character that you want immediately. So instead of building up a lower tier DPS unit like the main character like Mint or something, if you don't want to build them, you can strictly invest in the character that you do want to build, and you could utilize those in-game resources way earlier on the unit that you actually want to use them on. And then we have the no 50-50 factor. That's kind of the big one. With Neverness to Everness having no 50-50 mechanic, the value of getting who you want on those initial standard banner pools becomes much more valuable, because we will get a standard banner selector after a certain amount of pools. Like myself, you might want multiple standard banner characters, so hitting one of those standard banner characters on a reroll account will allow you to then use your selector on one of the other characters that you want that best complements your account and your like overall game plan. But then we have the cons, and there are some pretty big cons. One of the biggest cons, of course, is the time sink. Rerolling in an open world game, unlike some idle clicker game that's like a gacha on your phone or whatever, rerolling in a game like this is going to be long. It takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes to reach the ability to open your mail, get your rewards, and start rolling. So if you're able to do 3 runs an hour where you're min-maxing and just busting things out, that leads to the second con, which is a big fear that I have personally, as well as for a lot of players. Now, I'm not too worried about this because I intend on making a ton of Neverness to Everness content and I'm loving the game already, but the next con would be burnout. The last thing you want is to be sick of a game before you even get into the game. Like picture this, it's release night, the game comes out at 7 p.m. local time for you, you're ready to play the game, and then you spend 3 to 4 hours rerolling to hit the standard banner character you want. It's now 11 p.m., 10 p.m. Do you even want to continue playing the game? Are you even in the mood to play the game anymore? I know that for some people that could definitely ruin a launch experience, but there are other people who are just reroll fiends and they're going to reroll and min-max everything, and that's part of the fun for them. So it kind of depends on which category you fall into. For me, I'm like somewhere in between personally. But remember that we will have a standard selector. So if you don't care to get 2 or 3 characters that you really want. If there's only one standard banner character that you really care about getting, Everness is so generous to give us a character selector. So if you're not a hardcore min-maxer, the selector might be enough to satisfy your needs without the re-rolling headache. And I guess the kind of big question is, why re-roll? And I think it's important to touch on, again, there is no 50-50. In many gacha games, you pull on a limited banner and you lose the 50-50, and then you get a standard character. In Everness, you pull on the limited banner, you're going to get the limited character provided you roll enough. Because the limited banner is more streamlined, re-rolling for the limited character, which in this case will be Nanally, is definitely more valuable than in other games, and you can try and re-roll for that character. The rates aren't like anything special, but if you manage to pull a limited character through re-rolling, like I said before, you save tons of resources and you could save up for future characters that much earlier. But you have to remember that as you play the game and as we get further into the game's life cycle, most people are going to roll on the limited banner. You're going to spend your premium currency on the limited banner. And so that's going to result in your account not having the same amount of standard banner characters as you might in other gacha games. So I think that this is a pretty important factor to take into account when it comes to whether or not you should re-roll specifically for standard banner characters in order to get one of the characters you want, as well as a second one that you want with the standard banner selector. Unless if the game offers us like a significant amount of standard banner pulls, whether that be through events and rewards and stuff, if you compare it to other games where you're using your premium currency on the premium banner only, then like you're not going to be rolling on the limited banner that often. So I think it's important to take that into consideration. Next up, I want to talk about what I consider to be the big 4 reroll targets. If you've decided to commit to rerolling, who should you be looking for and why? Now, first of all, of course, Nanally is the limited character. She's like the prize. If you're able to hit her on a reroll, that's amazing. As a limited unit, her kit is designed to be like a step above the standard banner characters. And if you get her on a reroll, like you've pretty much won. Generally, we don't have that many limited banner pools once you reach the point where you're able to pool. So I think that if you get, it'll probably be like 5 to 10 pools and you hit her, that's pretty great. Like you're kind of winning. And so you could choose to stop there. It would be pretty hardcore if you wanted to reroll for Nanally, as well as one of the standard banner options that you desire. Like that's hardcore. Good luck with that. But moving on, the second character that I think is a pretty good target for a standard banner reroll is going to be Daffodil. I think she's an incredible pick for those looking for great bossing, like period. She's going to be an insane breaking unit, and she's good in all the other content as well. She'll be a fine damage dealer, and I think she's one of the best, most solid picks. If you're not re-rolling, I'm pretty confident that a lot of people are going to be using their standard banner selector on Daffodil. The next two are kind of interchangeable. I wouldn't rank one higher than the other personally. I would be happy with hitting one of these characters and then using my selector on Daffodil. I'd be most happy if I hit Nanally, but yeah, the third character I'd recommend would be Hathor. I think she's a decent powerhouse with like mob clearing and like handling combat in general. I think she's a cool looking character. She looks pretty sick on her motorcycle, and she's got angel wings, so that's dope. But yeah, her scaling's pretty good. I think that she's a good battery unit, and that'll bring a lot to different team comps in the future as well as on release. And then lastly, Jiuyuan, as we talked about before in the tier lists and everything, Jiuyuan offers a lot of utility. She deals damage and she heals damage. And I think that she's a great starting character. I think if you had to pick a character to just be like a good starting unit to just help you clear early game content, Jiuyuan is going to be able to heal. She's going to be able to deal. And I think that she handles that perfectly. I think she offers a lot of utility, and I think that she could bring a lot of value to your account. So the strategy is kind of keep an eye out for Hathor, Jiuyuan, Daffodil, then use your character selector on the character that you want the most after one of those three. And that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. We could all actually really need a pull for Sakiri, but I'm not sure. I think that this is like the 1-2 punch to having an efficient way to build a top tier team on day one though. And of course, if you hit Nanally, like, you're doing great. If I were to hit Nanally, I'd probably just use my selector on Jiuyuan, but I'm probably going to wail a little and I'll hit Nanally, so it is what it is. Remember, subscribe. We're going to be doing a Nanally giveaway. But closing thoughts, ultimately rerolling in Neverness to Everness is for players who want to kind of get a leg up, min-max, dominate the meta from the jump. Like if you have the patience to chase Nanally, or if you're looking for a specific standard banner duo of like 2 characters, one you'll pull and one you'll use the selector on, like I think that that'll pay off. If you're able to hit it in a reasonable amount of time, I think it's definitely worth it. However, if you're a player who just wants to jump in, enjoy the story, enjoy the city, you don't need to feel pressured. The game is beautiful. The character selector does give you the option of picking one character off the standard banner that you want, and you could just go from there. Like at the end of the day, these games are single player games where like meta doesn't matter. Like you could clear end-game content with just about anything. I'm going to try and do a no pool account where I prove that you could clear end-game content with anything. We'll see how that goes. Not super confident on that. But let me know what you think. Are you going to be spending any time on launch day re-rolling and running through the tutorial over and over and over again? Or are you just going to be like Hathor and wing it? Crickets. Let me know down in the comments who you're aiming for and who you intend on using your selector for. If this discussion helped you plan for your launch day at all, hit that like button and subscribe for more Neverness to Everness content. We're going to have guides and deep dives and I don't know, we're going to be doing a Neverness to Everness podcast, so that'll be cool. But thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.